I'm going to be talking today about uncertainty as a path to truth. And that might sound like it doesn't make sense. How could you be certain if you don't know? But I'm going to say that we find the knowledge by not needing to know yet. And I'll speak in a few ways about where that comes in. The only source I'm really going to be using today is from Jen Winhall, where she talks about safe dialogue. And I'm using this as a model for the inner safe dialogue and the ways in which we could dialogue with someone inside of us. We can dialogue with our worries. We can dialogue with forgiveness. And we can dialogue with like stuff that, we're exposed to. And the reason that I'm saying this is the only source, even though I have one other source here, is because, I have not necessarily one other source. I have a few quotes from people, and I'll get to them. But that's the main source here that I'm using to open this up. So if you don't know how the conversation's going to go, you're going to learn a lot. If you're willing to say, I loved someone, they were my favorite person, but they're no longer, because my values have changed, you're going to know a lot about what your values are and what you want from them or what you might want from someone else. And if you're willing to forgive yourself for not knowing, you're going to know a lot about what your values are again, and kind of like where you have been not being charitable with yourself. That's the truth. When you're willing to not know and things can be revealed, more can be revealed, that's where we learn the truth, because the truth will come out. We just have to make space. So talking about space here. So what is safe dialogue? According to Jan Winhall, we have to use the felt sense polyvagal theory, which is like the idea that we can learn how to become safe by recognizing feelings, thoughts, memories, and sensations. And these are felt experiences that we can use them in feeling safe just by knowing them as we encounter this new information that our system doesn't know yet. So she says, what's the 6 steps? One is we have to ask for dialogue. It has to be, first, not just a desire, but communication. 2 is clearing the space, finding a welcoming attitude. Whatever it is, I'm open. I can be a loving witness. Releasing any resistance. Number 3 is mirroring or resonating. It's being able to put yourself in the shoes of the one that you're dialoguing with. 4 is asking into the body. How does it feel? What's coming up for me? 5 is validating or confirming, like this is real. What you're saying is for right now, but it's allowing it to be part of the process. More will be revealed, but right now this is what's being revealed. And finally, 6 is like that welcomingness, that empathizing, like I feel you, it makes sense, this is how it is. And that's kind of letting go of that truth so that the new truth can come. This is the process. The new truth comes in, and then we say, I could see why it was hard, for example. So I'll talk, I have 3 little practices here, but first I'll go into like the quotes. And I'm going into a little science because Professor Lee Smolin, who's considered maybe the most prominent theoretical physicist, says regularly independent scholars are seers who can see through unjustified but universally held assumptions and ask new questions. These are the bravest folks, right? Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz's neuroplasticity observations were not accepted by the research community at first, and now it's a held belief. Now it's known. But at the time before, when people couldn't understand that your brain can make new connections, it seemed impossible. If that's not too hard to believe, if that's hard to believe, imagine this. Ludwig Boltzmann, who had invented the wording atomic theory, that everything is made up of atoms, which we've been exposed to, probably whoever's watching this, our entire lives, but at least like most of our lives we've heard of this, the idea that everything is made up of atoms, that the positive in the middle and the negative on the outside, but the inside neutralizes and so on. But it doesn't actually collapse. He killed himself because nobody believed him. Everyone accepts this now. It takes so much bravery. That's why I'm dedicating the time to make a video. And then Frank Kepler and Thomas Rockman, they found out that methane from plants contributes more to greenhouse gases effects than the CO2 on climate change. Everyone's talking about climate change, and they say that it's the products the humans are using, and it's this and that, and it's destroying the world. But actually, the plants are releasing more methane. They make up 10 to 40% of global emissions. That's more than the CO2. For example, over the Venezuelan savannah, that's a place where there's tons of plants. There's 60 million metric, and I think I meant to write tons, 60 million metric tons, I believe. And I believe that's per year, parts per year or something like that. You'd have to research more if you're very interested in this. And then I'll say that for me, it's like, how do I bring this into emotions? It's the shadow parts is where I judge as bad. Is actually a way to bless. Then comes the deeper trust, right? So at first I'm resisting, like I said earlier in this safe dialoguing. I have to dialogue with the shadow part. Then I can praise with true positivity. And this idea is what we learned from the Psalms, but also from the Torah in other places, that the rock the builders rejected became the cornerstone. And you would say, therefore, that everybody has two crowns. Everybody's brothers and sisters. In this way that I'm looking at this is that whatever we all have that power. We have the power to create and destroy. We have the power to love or to hate. We have this ability to be here on earth and also to be like connecting with that part of us that has a different earth than everybody else. And so I'm going to use 3 practices now. First of all, what are my worries? Practice writing your worries down. You're not going to worry about it now. More is going to be revealed. You'll check back later. So I wrote this at a day. I had a lot of worries, so I just wrote them down. Will there be enough time? Will I be too late? Will I regret my efforts? Will I have enough money? Will I feel lonely? Will I hurt my body accidentally? Will it be possible to love and be loved? Will I feel satisfied? Will I forget something important? Will I grow out of the past? Will I feel hopeful? Will I be met with opposition? Will someone try to cause me suffering? Practice saying the words, more will be revealed. It really releases a lot of tension. I've been practicing, so it becomes easier, but keep practicing. More will be revealed about all of that. Right now, next I'm going to be dialoguing with, and that's how I dialogued with the worries. I accepted these worries, welcomed them. I validated them. That's a legitimate worry. I wrote them down. I said, look, I welcome you as a worried person, Shayna. I did all that. Now I'm going to talk about with the dialoguing here with forgiving myself and others. What do I need to forgive myself for? What do I need to forgive others for? So first I asked myself, what do I need to forgive you for? What do I need to forgive others for? Then I made space. I said, I'm going to be welcoming. More will be revealed. Whatever I think at first may not be so nice to look at. And then I'm going to mirror, resonate, and allow it to be something that I could get with. I could get with that. I asked into my body how it felt, and then I validated it. And then I empathized, welcomed. And actually more has been revealed already. It's very healing to do this. So first, for being so triggered that I break things, scream, hit, use a weapon even. There's been times where I was feeling so afraid, feeling my life was, at risk, feeling like I didn't have control over my environment and I was being attacked. And I forgive myself. So being able to do this, I was carrying remorse for not caring for the introverted part and performing instead of focusing on the interacting part. So for not caring for the introverted part and instead focusing on the performing and interacting part. For low self-esteem, causing defensive insecurity, controlling behavior, lashing out, avoiding reality, being distant and manipulative, making excuses, blaming, impatience for gratification, validation of power and ability. Impatience for gratification or validation of my power and ability. All right, short term, winning versus long-term sustainability in relationships. Through gossiping, over-talking, exploiting others as a means to an end instead of asking for help or being vulnerable, being unable to say no or take space out of fear. It represents me as a failure fear that it will represent me as a failure instead of being good. Not being welcoming, sharing, belonging, not being accepting or kind because of chronic issues that became part of the personality. For example, being overly shy, not caring for my introverted self, and that I don't try. And the final one is being so hopeless that I don't even try, and I sink, but I'm still feeling entitled, like I settle, but I have aggressive resentment to not feeling like my dreams or desires are accessible or possible because I'm not spending time with myself. I'm not trusting that in uncertainty, I'll learn more. is the path to the truth. More will be revealed, and that sometimes not knowing yet is the knowing. And finally, I'm going to read. So I had and there's something here to say. Use something in your life. Use something. Where do you feel uncertain? I wrote about Michael. This is somebody who I was very close to. No, I actually didn't write this recently. I wrote it a while ago, but it's perfect, exercise for this. He was my favorite person when he said nice things about me, to me, when he was nurturing and affectionate, treated the relationship like a baby or a child, growing from like the relationship as a baby, a child. When he was easier to please and respected the silence, the peace, the dignity, when he was generous and attentive with me, when he didn't want to upset me or hurt me, when he was radiating confidence and masculinity, talked with me about interesting topics. He found creative ways to connect with me. We had sweet, warm cat cuddles, kisses, massages. There was oozing sexiness. He would feed me things, fed my mouth. He never let me give up hope. We noticed the little things that were beautiful and new together. We walked together in all different directions, from home and to adventures. We went grocery shopping and errands together. We looked at each other with loving, intimate gazing and twinkling eyes. We seduced each other with skilled focus. Now, why did I bring this up? Because the minute that I tried to be certain about that relationship, I knew who he was and what I liked, things started falling apart. I knew how he should be, things started falling apart. When I didn't need to know, and I had no attachment to the outcome, in other words, I let myself worry about it, but not yet. I was forgiving myself for who I was. I was practicing safe dialogues. I was letting things be revealed by not knowing. It actually was the healing for the relationship. So I wish you well. Hope that this was not too triggering for anybody and that you're able to practice forgiveness, worries, dialoguing, and just uncertainty all around in a way that brings you more knowledge.